Hello class, how y'all doing? I'm gone on a little trip to Thailand, so you're gonna have to learn from my podcast. Just today, just section 1 and section 3, chapter 9. Actually, fairly easy section. So today we're going to do section 1, apply the distance and midpoint formulas. So you're going to learn how to find the distance between 2 points and the midpoint between 2 points. Pretty easy. So let's do example number 1. What is the distance between -3.5 and 4, -1? So let me put this on a grid for you. So put your 2 points here, and it says, what is the distance? Okay, well, we can't count the distance. We can't count blocks to see how far these two are away from each other. The only way you could do that would, if I did this to you and say, okay, what's the distance between A and B here? You could count because they're exactly horizontal. Or if I said, hey, what's the distance between, C and A? Well, they're exactly vertical, so you could count those. But when they're like this, you can't count. So we need a little formula here. So the distance, we'll say D. Distance is equal to the square root of x2, so x2 minus x1, square it, plus y2 minus y1, square it. Know this formula right there. You know the formula, you know how to find distance. And you probably used that in geometry or algebra 1. So, what does x2, x1 mean? Well, if we're looking at these two coordinates over here, we'll say this is the first x coordinate, and we'll say this 5 is the first y coordinate. So that's x1, y1. And this one will be the second x coordinate, comma, the second y coordinate. There's where you get your x1, y1, x2, y2 from. So all we have to really do is know the formula and plug it in. So if we use this here, we'll get D is equal to x2 in this case was 4, so we'll say 4 minus x1 we'll say is -3, so people messed that up because they just put 1 minus sign, but there's actually 2 there, squared, plus y2, which is -1, minus y1, which is 5, so I just plugged them all in and then square that. So distance is equal to square root of, what's 4 minus -3 is 7. 7 squared plus -1 minus 5 is -6 squared. Last thing to do, D equals the square root of, let's see, we'll just write out the steps for now. 49 plus -6 squared is 36, which makes D equal to square root of, what is that, 85? 85. Now, if you had the square root of 4 or, square root of 12 even, you would have to break that down. But 85 is what? 1/17. So 85 is 5 and 17. Both of those can't break down. So just be careful when you get an answer that if it breaks down or not. You learn how to do that in another chapter. So be ready for that. Just a side note, if you got square root of 12, you'd say, oh, square root of 12 is square root of 4 times square root of 3. Square root of 4 is 2, so this is equal to 2 roots of 3. Just remember how to break things down. Okay, but that's just a side note. Okay, here's your answer. So what are we saying here? We're saying the distance between here and here is the square root of 85 units in length. Now, if you really wanted to get, technical, what is the square root of 85? Well, square root of 81 is 9. So this is about 9 point something units long. So, there you go. Learn how to do distance between 2 points. Going back to the slides. There you go. So that's letter C, square root of 85. Just know your formula and be able to plug it in. Okay. Example number 2. classify a triangle. So you're going to classify, meaning is this scalene, is it isosceles, is it equilateral? Okay, well, equilateral means all sides are the same length. Okay, you probably want to write this down. I'm not going to write it down. Equilateral, all sides are the same length. Isosceles, only two sides are the same length. The other side is anything else. And scalene means all the sides are different sizes. There are no sides that are the same length. Okay? So get those three definitions down. Equilateral, all sides are the same. Isosceles, only two sides are the same. And scalene, no sides are the same length. Okay? So how are we going to figure that out? We're given a picture here. We got a couple coordinates, okay, A, B, and C. How do we figure out if it's scalene, isosceles, or equilateral? Well, we need to figure out the length of from here to here. And that'll tell us how long that is. Now we need to figure out the length from here to here. Then we need to figure out the length from here to here. And we need to compare all of those lengths to see if it is scalene, isosceles, or equilateral. Okay? So you just have to do it one by one. It doesn't matter where you start. Okay, let's do A to B. Okay, use the distance formula. So let's kind of look at that. AB. So it took x1, 7. So x2 minus x1. So 7 minus the 4. Square it. Plus 3 minus the 6. Square it. So then we get 3 squared is 9 plus 3 squared, which is 9, which equal to 18. So we got the square root of 18. Now realize that breaks down to 3 roots of 2. Next, let's do BC. So how long is it from B to C? Well, all you have to do is know your distance formula. So they're going 2 minus the 7, basically just subtracting the x values and squaring them, plus subtracting the y values, 1 minus 3, and squaring them. So we have 2 minus 7, which is negative 5 squared, which is 25, plus 1 minus 3, negative 2 squared, which is 4. That's how they get square root of 29. Alright, next one, AC. You can see A to C. So we just subtract the x's, square them, plus subtract the y values, square them, and so 2 minus 4, negative 2 squared, which is 4, and this is negative 5 squared, which is 25. Add those up, you still get square root of 29. So notice your distances. 3 roots of 2, square root of 29, square root of 29. Two sides are the same, the other side is different. So it's definitely not equilateral, definitely not scalene. Isosceles says two sides are the same, the other side is different. There you go. So now you know how to classify a triangle, but we got to use the distance formula to do that. Alright. Let's just do a couple practice for you. So what's the distance between those two? Go ahead, pause the video for a moment and take a minute to do that. Answer is 4 roots of 5. Okay, next one, I want you to classify this triangle. I don't give you a picture, I just give you 3 coordinates. You guys just have to find the lengths of all the sides and then figure out if it's scalene, isosceles, or equilateral. Pause the video, take a moment to do this. Okay, answer is right here. None of the sides are equal, so it is a scalene triangle. Alright, example number 3 is dealing with midpoint. So if I ask you to find the midpoint between 2 points, or the midpoint of a line segment like this one, alright, we want to find where is the exact middle of this line segment. Well, all you need to know is a formula once again. Just like distance, midpoint has a formula too, and it's even easier than the other one. So the midpoint is basically halfway in between. So halfway in between the x values and halfway in between the y value. So all we have to do is take the x values, the first x plus the second x, and divide it by 2. What we're doing here is we're averaging the two x values out. So we're finding the middle of the two x values by just dividing by 2. And we're going to find the middle of the two y values. So y1 plus y2 all divided by 2. And this gives you your midpoint. We'll call it M. Okay, so let's do it for this problem right here. Let's average the two x values. So let's use a different color here. So x1 we'll say is, the first x we'll say is -5, plus the second x is -1, all divided by 2, comma. First y value 1 plus second y value is 6, all divided by 2. All we have to do now is simplify. So -5 plus -1 is -6 divided by 2, comma, this is 7 divided by 2. Well, -6 divided by 2 is -3. If we divide 7 halves, well, that's 3.5, which you could write, or 7 halves, or 3.5. Either way, I'll just leave it as 7 halves. There's my midpoint. Let's go put it on the graph. -3. 1, 2, 3. And 7 halves is 3.5. So 1, 2, 3.5 is right there. And it is right on the line. And M, we'll put an M for midpoint. We'll say this is A and this is B normally. There you go. That's how you find the midpoint of a line segment. We're going to have to use that for our next concept, which is the harder concept of the section, which isn't too bad. All right, example number 4. Actually, the last one we're going to do in this section. Find a perpendicular bisector. Well, just think about those two words. You should know what perpendicular means. It means that two lines cross at 90 degrees, right? And you should know what bisector means. Bisect means to cut in half. So this line could be the perpendicular bisector of this line right here. This, we'll say this is A and this is B. If this is a perpendicular bisector, it cuts AB in half, so that means this is the same as this. And this point right here should be the what? If that's true, it should be the M, the midpoint, right? So what we need to find is, 1, we need to find a midpoint, and 2, we need to find a line that is perpendicular, which means 90 degrees, but in algebra that's not going to help us knowing that it's just 90 degrees. We need to know something about two lines that are perpendicular to each other. So we're going to think about the slopes of those two lines. Okay. So I put this on a graph, so let's go to that. Find the perpendicular bisector. No, not that one. That one right here. Find the perpendicular bisector of AB between -3, 4 and 5, 6. So, how do we do that? Step 1. Well, if it's a perpendicular and it's a bisector, the easier thing to do would be the bisector part. We need to find the midpoint of AB. Because think about a line that's going to go through AB right now that bisects it. So right around in here, okay? And it's perpendicular. So we have to find that exact line. We can't guess. Okay? So step 1 is find the midpoint of the line segment. So find the midpoint of, we'll say in this case, AB, because that's the line segment. So let's do that now. Midpoint, average out the x's, average out the y's. So -3 plus the other x is 5, all divided by 2, comma, average out the y's. 4 plus 6 divided by 2. Alright, add up the x's, divide by 2, add up the y's, divide by 2, get an answer. The midpoint of this is, what's this? -3 plus 5 is 2 divided by 2, which is 1, comma, this is 10 divided by 2, which is 5. And you'll see how that lines up. So, 1, comma, 5 should be right here. That's exactly where it is. So there's our midpoint M. Okay, now, how do you find the next part? We need to find not just a bisector. We can't, if I draw a line here, that would be a bisector, but we need a perpendicular one. Okay? So we need to know the slope of this line right here. Well, we can't find the slope of this line until we know the slope of this line. So that's what step 2 is. We need to find the slope of the line segment that's given, which in this case is AB. Find the slope of the line segment so that we can find the slope of the line that we want to have. Okay, so let's find the slope of this. You remember how to find slope. Okay. Y2 minus Y1 divided by X2 minus X1. So it doesn't matter where you start. We'll do Y2, we'll say this is Y2 minus Y1. So let's just write that down quick. Y2 minus Y1, oops, over X2 minus X1 equals M, your slope. Okay, that might be confusing because I got M for midpoint, but that means slope. Here we go, Y2, 6, minus Y1, 4, all over X2, 5, minus negative 3. Here we go, 6 minus 4, that's 2, divided by, that's 5 plus 3, which is 8, which equals 1/4. So the slope of AB in this case is equal to 1/4. Now here's the confusing part that people forget. What do you know about perpendicular lines? Their slopes are what? Their slopes are opposite and reciprocal. So if this slope right here, that's what we just found, AB, the M is equal to 1/4. Then the slope of this line is the opposite, which means negative, and reciprocal of this is 4. So, step 3, find the slope of the perpendicular line. Okay, so you might want to write off to the side, slopes are opposite reciprocals. So, if the slope of AB is 1/4, then the slope of the line is equal to negative, because that's positive, and 4/1, which is just 4. Notice these two things right here are opposite reciprocals. We did that before. Just got to remember. Opposite reciprocals of each other. Okay, so how do we use that? Step 4, you can use a couple different methods, but I like to put that into an equation. Y equals mx plus b. Now, the book uses point-slope form, but I like to use slope-intercept form. So let's put that in there. What do we have? We have the slope of the line that we want is negative 4. So technically, if I was to draw it, but you don't have to draw it, but if I was to draw it, the slope of this line coming through here is negative 4. So I'm going to go from here, I'm going to go down 4 and over 1. I could go up 4 and over 1 too. And if I just drew a line through that. Okay. There you go. This would be the perpendicular bisector because this is 90 degrees right there. But it's not asking for that. It's not asking you to draw it. It's asking actually for the equation. So what do we need for this equation? We need a M and we need a B. So, do we have an M? Yes. Do we have a B? Actually not. I mean, we kind of do because I kind of figured that out up here, but you have to do it algebraically most of the time. So how do you find your B? Well, first off, you write this. Y equals mx plus b, and you fill in what you know. We know the M of this line right here is negative 4, so I'm going to substitute it. We don't know the B, but we do know What is x and y? X and y is a coordinate, so I'm just going to plug it in. Any coordinate you want. Well, actually the only coordinate, well, we have a couple, but let's use this coordinate because it's on this line. We can only use a coordinate that's on that line. So that coordinate right there was, what, 3, no, what coordinate was that? 1, 5. That was 1, 5. So we're going to put it right here. We're going to substitute it in. 1 was x, 5 was y, and then we don't know our b, so plus b. So this becomes 5 equals negative 4 plus b. So we're going to add 4 to this side. We're going to add 4 to this side. So we get 9 equals b. Now we got b. Now we got m. All we have to do is put that back into the equation. Final answer, y equals m, which was negative 4, x plus b, which was 9. This is your final answer. The graph just kind of helped us. Okay, y equals negative 4x plus 9. So this is how you find an equation of a perpendicular bisector. Number 1, you find the midpoint. Number 2, you find the slope of this. So that, number 3, you can find the slope of this because those are opposite reciprocals. And lastly, put a bunch of information into the equation. Basically, you'll only have a slope and a point, and therefore you'll find your y-intercept. Put all that back into the equation, and you get your final answer up here. So make sure this is what you write on the line. Okay? All right, that's it. 4 examples down. And we're going to move on to section 3.